Hey guys, this is Tara with Teaching on Lemon Lane, and this is a video walkthrough of how you can play Bombardment with your class using the Google Slides version. Now, the Google Slides version is a little bit different than the PowerPoint. For the most part, the game is played the same, but Google Slides doesn't allow the same type of formatting that PowerPoint does. So it's going to be a little bit of a simplified version, and it's going to be a little bit more finicky as far as you kind of figuring out what works best for you. But with that being said, it is still a great option for your classroom. There's just a few things that we need to be aware of. So let's go ahead and start. One of the first things that you need to be aware of when playing this with your class is that I have not figured out how to make these questions disappear or even have the hyperlink change a different color once you click on it. So the numbers, when you're playing the game, they will still be there instead of disappearing like they do in the PowerPoint version. So what I would do in my classroom is that I would project this onto a whiteboard, and then the game master would just use a whiteboard marker on the projection and just cross out the numbers that we had answered. So that's something that you're going to need to do and kind of figure out how you're going to keep track of which questions have already been answered. The other things that makes this PowerPoint, the Google Slides version, a little bit different than the PowerPoint version is we don't have the same capability with, say, our timers or our roulette. I've given you options that will work great, but we're just going to change it a little bit different, okay? So for example, with these power-ups, which makes the game of Bombardment so fun and so unpredictable, so I highly encourage you to use them. The power-ups, when we are using it in the PowerPoint version, I just have you copy and paste the sticker or the disappearing squares onto the question itself. When we're playing it in Google Slides, we're actually going to copy and paste these stickers onto, you could still do it on the question slides for some of them, but for ones that required something like, say, a timer or the risky roulette, or the wager, so wager war or flames of fortune, they required a disappearing square to cover up that question, and then you'd click on it and it would disappear after they had made their wagers. To kind of get that same effect, instead of what we're going to do here is that we're going to copy and paste the Flame of Fortune sticker onto the game board. Same with Wager War, and same with Time Crunch. And you could also do this with the Risky Roulette one if you want as well. So let me show you what that's going to look like. So what I would do before playing is I would pick the stickers that I want to use. Let's say I want to use Flames of Fortune, where students wager how many points they want to put on the question before seeing it and before answering it. And if they get it right, they get that amount of points as well. If they get it wrong, then they have to subtract that amount of points from their score. So what I would do is I just copy and pasted the sticker. I'm going to hold that top corner. I'm going to scale it down so it's a little bit smaller. And then I'm just going to put it in the bottom corner of this question. That way students know that if they pick operations and algebraic thinking for this, for 100, that Flames of Fortune power-up is in play, which means before you click on the question, students are going to wager how many points, how confident they are that they can answer that, okay? So as a teacher, you're going to need to go through and add these power-ups to the game board before you play. Again, the board that you're using, this video I'm making for all of the Google Slides that'll kind of follow that same Bombardment setup and formatting that we have for Google Slides. So just a heads up, your coloring may be a little bit different, your heading may be a little bit different, but the formatting and the tips that I'm giving you will be the exact same. Let's go look at those other power-ups. So the Flames of Fortune is one that I would put on the game board. Another one that needs to go on the game board is the Wager War. Again, because we don't want students to be able to see the question until they've put kind of a wager on it. So again, I grab that top corner, I make it smaller, and we'll say that number and operations in base 10 will be a Wager War question. Now this one's really fun because this makes everybody play. So everyone will place a wager, and then you'll click on the question and everyone will answer. So you'll have some getting points and you'll have some losing points if they answer it incorrectly. Another power-up that you're going to want to put on the game board instead of just the question slide is the timer. Let me actually show you a risky roulette first. So let's go ahead and go and put that one in. We'll go back to our game board. I copy and paste it. I grab that top corner. I make it a little bit smaller. I think what I'm going to do just for plain sake is that we'll put all of these on that first category. That way, when we go in to kind of show you the example, I'll show you how each of these will work. So this roulette one, essentially students are going to, before they roll the wheel, they're going to go in and they're going to answer the question. And if they answer the question correctly, then they have a chance to spin the risky wheel. But again, we call it risky for a reason, because the wheel that they will spin, you'll notice they might even lose points even though they got the question right. So again, that's just another fun spin on things. The last one that you need to know about with how to use it, or that you may want to post on the game board instead of within the question itself, is this time crunch one. So with the time crunch one, if I were using Google Slides and I were using it in my classroom, I would paste this sticker onto the game board. And again, I can use as many power-ups as I want. I can add them to as many questions as I want. The only difference with this line of play is that students are aware that some of these categories have a power-up on them. To make things a little bit more fun or kind of surprising, you can continue to add the stickers like, say, Bombardment or the Battle Royale or the Team Swap or even the Double Up, and you can continue just to paste those on the game board, or you can make it a surprise by going in and adding it to the question itself. So I double check. I don't have any power-ups in, say, my number and operations and fractions, so I could go to that category in the light blue. Here's one, and I'll paste my double up there. That way, when students click into that slide, they won't know there's a power up until they are in it, and then they see that it's actually a double up, which means that the amount of point value that they clicked on, which was 200, it just was doubled and it became 400. So you can put the stickers within the slide as well. But when using Google Slides, we need to make sure that these stickers are placed on the outside or on the game board because it's a little bit more finicky than it is in PowerPoint. So let's go ahead, and there's one more thing that I need to show you with time crunch. So we put the time crunch here. This notifies students that they have to answer this question within a certain amount of time if they want to get it right. I pay attention to where I've pasted it, which is in the operations and algebraic thinking category for 400 points. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go down to my timer page. Excuse my voice, I have a cold, so I apologize for that. And now these timers, I have videos that you can use. This timer is for 1 minute. I think this one is for 3 minutes, and this one is for 5 minutes. So let's go ahead and look at what that question is. And you as the teacher will get to decide which timer you want to use. Now, you do not have to use my timer videos. You could simply just use a timer in your classroom or have someone time it. But if you want to use kind of all of those digital aspects that we can, then this is how we would do it. So again, remember we put that time crunch on operations and algebraic thinking for 400. So I look at the question. It's not too difficult. I think that I'll put a 1 minute timer on it. So I go back to my timers. Here's my timer page. That first one is that 1 minute. I control copy. I go back to that question. And again, this is something that you can do before. If you don't want to worry about this, you can simply just play and use your own timer. Let me find it for 400 right there. And I paste in that timer, which will allow me to kind of use it as a sticker. So as soon as I click on this slide, then students will be able to play and solve and try and solve this before the time runs out. Now that I've given you kind of a quick walk through everything, let's go ahead and actually see how this plays out. So here is my instruction slide. We'll go to slideshow. We're going to play it. So here's your just kind of quick instructions. I recommend dividing your students into teams. It's recommended to have no more than 5 per team. One team will go first, and they get to pick which category they want to answer and the point value that they're answering it from. One thing that I really encourage is that every student shows their work for every problem, whether they are answering it or not, and make sure that you're using that record and reflect page. Let me actually show you that before we jump into the game. So the record and reflect page can be downloaded, the PDF for that, within your Google Slide. So right here I have it as slide 99. That may change, but it's going to be close. You'll find it within your bonus slides here. So you go to your bonus slides, you find the record and reflect. You'll click here on this button, and then you'll click here on this link, and that will pull up the PDF version of this record and reflect page. Let's go ahead and look at that. So again, I just clicked on the link, it automatically pulls it up, and from here you can very easily print. Let me show you why I love this page so much. It was really important to me that as you use these, either the Bombardment kind of game show review, or if you're using the task cards, that this page, this record and reflect page, could be used with both of them. And I really wanted to give you a very quick visual kind of snapshot assessment of how your students are doing. So what's so great about this is that for every category that students will be answering in, they mark whether they got the correct answer or not. They rate their understanding of that category, and then they also write down their score, because sometimes those might be a little bit different. So very quickly, you have this visual representation of what each student's score is within that category. The other thing that I love to really celebrate is that there's also a space for them to rate their attitude and their effort on a scale of 1 to 10. I think we all know how demoralizing it can be to try really, really hard and not meet the mark, or we still miss them. And so if students are able to just keep trying and not give up, or they are able to have kind of a hold on their attitude where they're focusing on the right thing and that they're being positive, that needs to be celebrated. So I wanted to make sure that we had a space for that. So they may not have got 100%. However, their attitude was great. That needs to be celebrated. So that's what we have there. Again, this page will work with any of my Bombardment game show templates, whether it's Google Slides or PowerPoint, and it will also work with those task cards, which are fantastic. So let's go ahead and jump back into the game, and let's get an idea of what we play with. So we've printed off a record and reflect sheet for everybody. We've divided everybody into teams, and we are ready to play. So I've also added the power-ups to all of the questions that I want to add that to. So let's jump into our slideshow. And now to play, students will simply click on the number. So let's say that the first team wants number and operations in base 10 for 200. We click on it. It brings us here. They answer A, it's not right. We return to question, and I am just single clicking. Make sure when you single click that you are clicking on these spaces that are hyperlinked. If you click with outside of the slide or just anywhere on the slide, it's going to take you to the next slide, and that's not where we want to go. So we formatted it to where you want to click on the actual spaces. Let's say they guess it's B, they get it. So they get to return to the game board. And again, in PowerPoint, this space would now disappear. In Google Slides, it doesn't do that. So you need to be keeping track of which answers or which questions have been asked and answered already, and cross that off so we don't get any repeats. Let's go ahead and try a power-up. Now, let's say that they say operations and algebraic thinking for 100. We notice that there's a power-up there. That means before you click on this question box, students need to wager how many points they want. So if they have 300 points, they can say, I want to wager 300 points on this. If they do answer correctly, they get an additional 300 points. If they answer incorrectly, they lose those 300 points. So let's go ahead and click on that one. Make sure also, do not click on the sticker icon in order to play this question. You need to click on the actual point value or this square here. So I click in the center of it. It brings it to me. Let's say that they answered D. They did it correctly. They wagered 300 points. So an additional 300 points are added to their score. And this is just something that you, the game master, the teacher, can add to their score. Or if you want to put a student in charge of it, maybe there's a student that needs a little extra love and attention. Maybe it's someone that struggles and could use a confidence boost. And because it's typically simple math, like we're adding by the hundreds or subtracting by the hundreds, this can be a great way to kind of showcase them and build confidence. You know your class, so you decide what's best. Okay, we return to the game board. Again, we'll notice that this didn't cross off, so the game master could use their marker to cross it off, or the teacher keeps track of that. The next one, let's go ahead and do our risky roulette. Now, this one's a little bit different. When doing risky roulette, we will click on the question first we'll click on the question first. We come here and students answer. Now, if they answer correctly the first time, they have a chance to spin the wheel. So let's say that they answered correctly, they get to return to the game board, and now they get to spin the wheel. To spin the wheel, it's a little bit different. For this one, they will actually click on the sticker. When they click on the sticker, they are taken to our wheel, and to spin it, we just click in the center, and to stop it, we click in the center. And remember, we call this a risky wheel for a reason. Oh, dang it, they lost 300 points. So for that one, that's why we call it risky. So instead of winning an additional amount of points, they can subtract it. And again, you could give them that 200 first because they got the answer right, and then the wheel would subtract the 300 from there. So with risky roulette, we click on the question first. We answer the question. If they get the answer correctly when we're playing in Google Slides, you then click on the sticker to give them that chance to spin the wheel. Wager war is a lot like our Flames of Fortune. Wager war is one where everyone needs to place their wager as to how many points, and wager war is when everyone plays. So just because team 1 picked operations and algebraic thinking, all of your teams will be answering and playing on this one if a wager war is in play. So we place their wager. Maybe team 1 bets 100, team 2 wagers 300, you've got 5 teams, team 5 wagers 600. They bet everything that they have. Everyone locks in that score. You can have them write it on their board. You can have the game master keep track of it. And then we go and we answer it. And based on how they answer, and again, each team will have a different answer. So whoever gets the correct answer gets a plus the amount of points of whatever they wagered. And if they didn't get it right, then you subtract that from their score. So things can change really, really fast in a game of Bombardment. The last one that we need to talk about is this time crunch one. Now remember, with time crunch, I like to put a sticker on the game board if we are playing in Google Slides instead of PowerPoint. So I've added a time crunch here. This tells students that if they click on this one, they will be in a time crunch. So the moment that I click on this square, which will show the question, the moment they see the question, the time pretty much starts, right? So this gives them that little warning, and it tells the person if they're picking it that could happen. So the team is ready, they pick it, we click on the question, and it shows us, and here, remember, we've copied and pasted this video in here. So as soon as you're in here, you would click play, and the countdown begins. If you didn't want to copy and paste the videos into the slide, again, you could just use your own timer, and the moment you click on the slide, you say go, and you start the timer. And students have until the timer runs out to submit their answer. I like to have it where the entire team needs to agree on their answer, and they need to have work showing that. So let's say they pick A, wasn't quite right. B wasn't quite right. C, they got it, and they got it within the amount of time, and we return to the game board. That, I think, is everything that you need to know for playing Bombardment in Google Slides. It does require a little bit more kind of getting creative with how to use these power-ups. However, I think the power-ups are really what make this game exciting and engaging, and especially make it unpredictable. Things change really fast on the battlefield when you are playing Bombardment. Friends, I am so excited for you to play this with your class. Please let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything else I can do for you. I always love to hear from you. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.